Ahoy there! Captain Benzie here, coming at you with something very different for today's video. In fact, this is quite an uncomfortable video for me to make, but it is one that I've wanted to do for a long time. And the more people I've spoken to, both in my community and in real life, the more people have pushed me to make this. So I'm going to do this video. You've seen the title, you've seen the thumbnail. Why do I do what I do? And that's not just talking about content, that's talking about me as a person. We've talked previously in my channel update 2022 that I want to put myself forward more in these videos. Basically, I want to talk to you about me and what I do and the world around me, not just the games, but make things a bit more personal. So I kind of figured that stopping and talking about why I do what I do and why I react the way I react sometimes would be a great starting point, especially since the more I talk to people about this, the more I realise I'm not alone in this, and it's therefore both cathartic for me and for everyone else involved. Now, firstly, I do apologise that I am sweating like a madman here. I've been filming at Hillside Dams today, which is a sort of nature reserve just outside of Bulawayo town centre. If you watched my update 2022 video, you'll have seen me filming on the cliffs. I've actually come all the way up the top of those slate cliffs, and there is this beautiful meadow here, which if I turn the camera you can see just there behind me, some cacti and some succulents, some beautiful rocks there in the distance. I hope I'm getting that into the shot. I can't see anymore. Of course, I am still filming this all entirely on my phone. I've got my microphone strapped to the top. Obviously, you can see I've got my headset plugged in. Well, first of all, let's make this really personal and go straight into the uncomfortable zone and talk about me and who I am and why I react the ways I react sometimes. So first of all, I live in Zimbabwe. You may have noticed I don't have a Zimbabwean accent, I very much have a British accent. I was born and raised in England. I moved out here 5 years ago. I came out here 5.5 years ago on a work trip. The third night we were in Zimbabwe, we stayed at a lodge. My wife was, my now wife, was the guide at that lodge. I fell in love pretty much at first sight. 4 months after meeting her, I flew back out to Zimbabwe, and we were married 4 days after I landed. So the whole thing, we were like 5 months together by the time we were married, and now 5 years later, here I still am and absolutely loving it. About me personally, though, a key point to understanding me is that when I was, I think, 14, 16 years old, I don't remember exactly how old, I was diagnosed with clinical depression, by which I mean a serotonin deficiency. This means that my brain does not produce enough serotonin, which is a hormone in your bloodstream in your body that helps you to regulate emotions. Now, in some of my previous videos, like back when I used to do Command & Conquer Rivals ones, people used to say, oh my goodness, Benzie, you sound like you're just, putting this on with how excited you are. No, that is a side effect of, like, the serotonin deficiency. I don't have sort of a dial to keep myself under control when it comes to moods. This means I can swing very rapidly between being very bouncy and happy and jovial and excited and sounding almost childlike and gleeful to suddenly being in the doldrums and pits of despair. And believe me, it can be quick. My wife has had to learn this, and bless her, she has become an absolute goddess at learning to handle this, and fair play to her. I try the best I can to modulate it myself. I have coping mechanisms. Things like, as stupid as it sounds, raspberries are a very easy one for me. They do actually help produce serotonin, and they're one of my favourite foods. It's my favourite flavour, so anything that is raspberry flavour just brings me memories back, as do mints. They remind me of my late grandfather, and that helps control my mood. Now, this means if I'm having a bad day, I tend to have a very bad day. So over Christmas of 2021 into New Year 2022, obviously I took a break from the channel. I then watched, obviously, my revenue naturally declined because I'm not making videos. People aren't watching all the old ones. Of course they're not. So with nothing new, my revenue starts to fade. This obviously then put me on a bit of a downer when I came back to Bulawayo and found that our internet, the fibre optic that we've spent 15 months at this point trying to get sorted, we pay for it, we come home being told everything will be up and running, only to find no, it's not, and a week later we are still arguing with them going all the way to Vic Falls to our old address to try and connect it. There, they've just dug the trenches. They've just done all the actual hardware installation on our house in Bulawayo. They know where we are. Anyway, this plus my cellular data plus all of this put me into a bit of a spiral, and this is just typical of the kind of thing that I sometimes have to put up with. Those seemingly little things suddenly set me off. A friend of mine once said one of the craziest things about depression is that you can sit there and just handle some of the worst things that life can throw at you with just a shrug. It just glazes off you. Then suddenly your pen runs out of ink and the world falls apart around you. And there are kind of a couple of reasons for this. This can just be that you've been holding on to just the little things. You've told yourself that all these big things, okay, we're struggling to process this, but the little things are still in place. So when some of the little things start falling apart, that can cause problems. It's when a power cut happens here in Zimbabwe, I can utterly lose everything in my mind because what I've been trying to hold on to, the little pleasantries I'm holding on to, bam, they're gone. I'm left facing this electricity-less world until we get the generator started if we've got fuel for it. And even if we've got fuel for it, the fact that I've been interrupted can be a problem as well, and we'll come back to that one later on because that's the second bit I want to talk about. The other side of why do these little things affect, it's because it's the straw that breaks the camel's back. You see that someone's having this major breakdown over like a microphone not working or a pen running out of ink or something ridiculous like that, but it's because it's the latest in a string of things and it's that final bit that pushes you over. And again, I go from 0 to 100 really, really quickly. I shoot downhill and I want to lock myself away and I just don't want to do anything. I find that even at that point, trying to play other video games doesn't help me. Talking to people doesn't help me. All I can do is sit and wallow in my own misery until eventually I just fall out of it. Eventually that serotonin builds back up. To talk about the serotonin deficiency is to kind of think of it like a bath. Most people have a bath running, the taps are on, the faucets, if you're American, are on, and the water is flowing out into the bath. Now take the plug out, and if the water's flowing in fast enough, the bath stays approximately level, right? The water coming in replaces the water draining out at sort of an equal pace. Now for me, I've got a very big plug hole, so the water rushes down there, and the faucets are kind of a drip, which means it's very difficult for me to build up that serotonin. It just drains out of my body. I did used to take SSRIs, serotonin reuptake inhibitors, but I found that those didn't help so much as just numb. If you're kind of listening to this and thinking, yeah, this sounds familiar, do speak to someone about this. I found that counselling really helped me. The medicine didn't, tablets didn't, but for some of my friends who have gone through similar things, the tablets really helps them, so talk to someone about this. And I'll say now, my DMs are always open. Contact me in the description down below, or head across to my Discord and DM me there. Stuff like this. Mental health is important, and it's something I like to think I understand pretty well. Now, the second part, as I mentioned earlier, being interrupted is a problem, and something that I have discovered in 2021 through some friends of mine talking to me. A psychologist friend of mine actually really sat me down and said, hang on a second, maybe you're autistic. I'd never considered this. As a child, yeah, I had a couple of autistic friends and they were the ones I got on with more. I seemed to understand them better and they seemed to understand me better. So looking back on that, it kind of makes sense. I've had chats with people who are autistic and many of them have said the same thing. Yeah, okay, the signs and symptoms that you've got here do seem to indicate that you may be somewhere on that scale. Apparently what's referred to as a masking autistic. I hope I'm getting this right. Forgive me, this is all very new to me as well. I just wanted to talk about this. This means that because it was not something I was diagnosed with and because I was bullied heavily in secondary school, I learnt to kind of hide those aspects of me and bury them, but that's obviously not a healthy thing to do. For me, getting interrupted is a difficult thing to handle. Like, for most people, if you're halfway through a sentence and someone interrupts you and it's meaningless, you're not really talking about anything, you're just having a little bit of a chat with someone interrupts with something important and you just kind of get on with your day. For me, that can really throw me off. Once that's all then said, I have to kind of go, right, anyway, as I was saying, just to finish, and I will have to finish that off. When it comes to sort of doing something, if I set my mind to do something, I don't like to be interrupted. It can really, really mess with my day and really mess with my mood. I like to have a schedule that I follow, where I kind of do things in a specific order, which means trying new content and things like that is difficult for me because I'm trying something that's outside of my usual schedule. I'm used to doing it in a very specific way, so doing it in a new order is a difficult thing. There's a lot more to this as well that I could go into. I think there are better resources out here on YouTube to talk about autism. I'm definitely no expert on this. This is all very new to me, as I said. This means that if you've interacted with me on Reddit, or indeed on Twitter, or anything text-based, I have been accused numerous times, especially on the Eve Echo subreddit, of coming across very passive-aggressive or being quite rude and confrontational. I usually don't mean to be. I really struggle to read any form of intonation in text, and putting an actual voice myself into that text, yeah, it's not a good and easy thing for me to do. Put it this way, if I have ever said something to you in text and you've gone, oh, hang on a second, Benzie, that's a bit harsh, step back. I'm probably not meaning it to be harsh. I tend to be very straightforward in these things. If I disagree with someone, I will say, I really don't agree with that. If I think someone's being an absolute douche canoe, I will say, you are being a douche canoe. I don't tend to imply. I will tell you. I tell people straight when it comes to this kind of stuff. I don't read intonation well, which means I can often think someone's being standoffish and confrontational to me, which can then trigger my depression, and you see how this is the perfect storm in my head. This means that there are times when I'm making content when things just don't go right. I'll be trying to do something and I just can't quite get the footage, or something else will go wrong. A key example of this, for example, is when I did the Crew War video, where I talked about like all the different PvP aspects, and then I couldn't get proper PvP footage because I spent 4 hours flying that thing around only to get it lost in a bug at a gate camp, and that knocked me for 6. Like, that genuinely had me to the point where I nearly didn't release that video. I stopped recording. I shut the whole game down. I went into a bit of an almost tantrum, not in sort of a screamy shouty way. I just kind of locked myself away and didn't want to talk to anyone, because for me that was 4 hours of work that had just fallen apart, and the frustration with my depression, with everything else on top of that, just made me take a step back. I'm not saying any of this for kind of sympathy. I want to make that clear now as well. This is part of this uncomfortableness of me making this video, that I want to put myself out there and talk about this to see if it resonates with anyone. But at the same time, I'm not looking for sympathy. I'm looking for a connection, if anything. I just want you to understand me, and maybe it'll help you understand you, or something similar. So thank you all to everyone who has supported me throughout the years with whatever games. I want you to understand that when I say that, I really do mean it. Every nice comment that anyone has ever said means the world to me, because it's the kind of thing I come back to when I'm in one of those spirals, when the depression is kicking in, when the autism's making me want to scream and pull my hair out. I can go back and look at some of those comments and go, it's okay. I may have no confidence in myself half the time, but the fact that there are people out there around the world who, for some reason, whatever reason, have confidence in me and enjoy what I'm saying and listen to what I talk about, that's humbling. Really does help. My wife has, bless her, Carrie, has sometimes actually been pretty jealous of this. That she's like, oh, I can sit here and tell you that, I believe in you and all this kind of thing. And it doesn't do anything, yet some random stranger on the internet tells you and suddenly you're feeling better. And I'm like, yeah, I know. I wish this made sense in my head. To find a nugget of golden hope on the internet, just, it shines brighter, as stupid as that sounds. So thank you for your support. It really, really does mean a lot. I have always wanted content to be something where I can help people have fun, help people find enjoyment, whether I'm talking about, here's the latest game I'm playing, maybe you'll enjoy it, or this is what I'm doing in Eve Echoes, maybe you'll enjoy this, or heck, even just, here I am in Zimbabwe, look at how beautiful this place is, maybe you'll enjoy seeing this scenery as well and hearing some stories about Zimbabwe. So that's why I do what I do, that's why I make content, it's why I react the way I react sometimes, and it's why I am the way I am. And that's been a bit of a difficult thing for me to come to terms with in 2021. So going forward into 2022, understanding myself a little bit better now, I'm hoping that I can kind of just be better. That I can do more of the content that I want to make. I can talk about Eve Echoes, I can talk about other video games, whether they're mobile or whatever. I can showcase myself and just interact with you guys a bit more. That's really important to me, and it's a journey that I'm really excited to head out on, and I hope that you folks are too. I know that sounds weird, but I like being able to talk to people, and I like having that sort of interaction. When you talk to me in the comments section down below, you'll know that I try to respond to those whenever I can. If you DM me on Discord, I try to respond as quickly as I can. Same on Twitter. If it feels like it's been a couple of days since I responded, poke me again. It may be that I've gone, right, I need to respond to that, and I've just gone to put the kettle on, I've come back and I've forgotten about it, and then I've lost the thing. Don't feel ashamed for poking me. I will tell you to sod off if I'm not in the mood for it. So, yeah. Anyway, folks, that's me. I know this is not the kind of content I'm normally putting out, and I'm very scared to hit upload on this one because I'm kind of bearing myself and being very honest and open. I hope it helps some people understand me, and more importantly, I hope maybe it helps me connect with some other people and helps them understand me and helps me understand them. Anyway, folks, thank you for watching this one right the way to the end. Thank you for your support eternally, and happy sailing, and see you in 2022.